We shall see. Well, we're going to get a little bit of preview because we take on that other team up north this week. In Sparty, Chris, let's dive into the history and the statistics in this game this weekend. Of course, if you're unable to go to the game, you can catch it live on NBC this Saturday night at 7:30. Again, NBC 7:30 kick. Ohio State will be wearing their all gray jerseys. They've worn all grays before, but it was a different kind of gray. This is the kind of gray that the basketball team has too.
Yeah.
And I love those jersey colors. I absolutely love them. So looking forward to that. Looking at Ohio State and Sparty by the numbers. Ohio State leads the all-time series, 36 wins to 15 losses. Ohio State has won, however, the last 7 in a row. Last loss to Sparty was in 2015. Gosh, I still have nightmares about that game. 17-14 in the rain in the horseshoe. Ugh, terrible loss that year. That was the only loss we had that year. Last meeting was in 2022. Last year, of course, Ohio State won 49-20 up in East Lansing. 2 years ago, inside the horseshoe, Ohio State won that one 56-7, which, believe it or not, Chris, was the largest margin of victory in this series for the Buckeyes. The largest margin of defeat for the Buckeyes, that came back in 1965. It was a 32-7 loss. Ohio State's longest win streak over Sparty is 8 from 1975 to 1984. Ohio State's going to be looking to tie that for the second time to go 8 straight against Sparty. Michigan State's longest win streak over the Buckeyes is 3. That happened between the years of 1912 to 1953. A lot of people don't know Michigan State was not an original member of the Big Ten, Chris. They were actually a farming institute for a long time. And so they weren't even a member of the Big Ten until I believe it was the 50s, if I'm not mistaken. Ryan Day's record against Sparty is 3-0. This will be Marion Barnett's first time as head coach in facing Ohio State. Looking at the last 10 games these two teams have played, there you'll see the 7 in a row. But notice from 2013 to 2015, Michigan State beat us 2 out of 3 times. That first one in 2013, that was in the Big Ten championship game
That
over
was
in
Urban's first Big
Indianapolis.
Ten loss, was it not?
It was. You're right. And of course, he still had the streak that went on for a regular season Big Ten
Yeah.
wins that went on for quite a while, but that was his first loss at Ohio State, period.
Yeah.
2014, of course, we went on to win the national championship. We won that one 49-37. The following year, we had the best roster in college football, and again, we lost that one 14-17. That was a nightmare night, man. I still have nightmares about that game, Chris. I'm not gonna lie about that. But since then, other than 2016, which was a 1-point game, Ohio State has been dominating this series for a while now. It seems like, in all honesty, Chris, when this thing went over to the end of Urban Meyer's tenure and then went over to Ryan Day, everything changed. Ryan Day has had no trouble with Michigan State. Mel Tucker, didn't matter. He's dominated this series for the last 3 or 4 years. And even the one game he wasn't head coach, old Larry Johnson stepped in up there
Yep.
in East Lansing, got his one victory as a head coach. Larry Johnson's 1-0 as an Ohio State head coach. Don't you forget about that. Perfect record.
And I'll never forget that because that was probably the best game outside of JTT and the Penn State game there a few years ago. Probably the best defensive line game I may have ever seen, just because, if I'm not mistaken, that's the one where was it Haskell Garrett got the pick six?
Haskell the Rascal, baby.
Yeah, that defensive line just came up so big for him in that game. That was just a great game.
Buckeyes or Sparty? Who you want to start with?
Let's start with Sparty today, Eric.
Let's do it.
All right. Well, the Michigan State Spartans offense comes in with an anemic 319.1 yards per game of offense. That's good for 111th in college football. They're only converting about 33.9% of their third downs. That's ranked 107 in the game. Red zone scoring, they are at 87.5% red zone scoring. That's good enough for 47th. Defensively, they're giving up 350.9 yards per game. That's 45th overall. Turnover margin, they are -4 in turnovers, which is 99th in the game. And then penalties per game, they're committing about 7.6, 122nd in college football. Excuse me, everyone, if you can't tell, bit of a cold today, so trying to get through it. So offensively, individual offense, we've got the quarterback Noah Kim leading the passing game. He's completed 91 of 160 passes for 1,090 yards, 6 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Caden Hauser, he's the running game for him. He is, I'm sorry, that's the other
Oh,
quarterback.
yeah, I actually have three quarterbacks there because they've been playing all three, Chris. I threw all three of them there for you.
Yeah, you did. Okay. We also have quarterback Caden Hauser, 64 of 109 passing for 674 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. And Sam Levitt, 15 of 23, 139, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Leading the rushing charge is Nathan Carter. Got 156 carries, 659 yards, and 4 touchdowns. And then the receiving game is all about Montori Foster Jr., 33 catches, 436 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Defensively, well, they come in with Cal Halliday, the linebacker. He's got 65 tackles to lead the team.
Can I just say this about Cal Halliday, Chris, while you get yourself a cough and drink there?
Thank
Um,
you.
because I know how you feel right now. This was me last weekend. Cal Halliday is by far the best football player on this roster, hands down.
Oh, yeah.
And he's probably if they have anybody else, I'll be shocked. He's the one guy on this roster who I think currently is an NFL talent.
Oh, absolutely. And I think at the beginning of the year, we predicted him to be one of the better linebackers in the Big Ten. And I don't think he's
Hmm.
disappointed. Like you said, the one bright spot on a really bad team. Aaron Brule, he leads the team in sacks with 4. Jaden Mangum, let me tell you, 4 interceptions. It's so nice to have these nice little rosters of guys with an interception. De-
Well, just
defensive
wait,
touchdowns.
Buckeyes are coming, baby.
I know. Defensive touchdowns. Well, no surprise here. Cal Halliday leads the team in defensive touchdowns with 1. Kicking, we got Jonathan Kim. He is 11 of 15 on field goals with a long of 58.
That's a heck of a kick. 58
That
yards.
for the college game. 58 yards is pretty amazing. I'm not going to lie. So let's flip script over to the Buckeyes now. So Ohio State comes in. They have 417.6 yards of offense per game, good enough for 45th in all of college football. Third down conversions, we're converting about 44.3% of our third down opportunities. Red zone scoring, we are at 88.3%. That's good for 69th in the country. But here's the big thing, Eric. Right here it is. Total defense, 271 yards per game. That's good enough for 5th in the country. Turnover margin, we are -1, which is 72nd. And penalties per game, 6.3, which is 84th in the country. Now, individual statistics, of course, Kyle McCord, he is our quarterback. He leads the team in passing at 167 of 257 for 2,352 yards, 17 touchdowns versus 4 interceptions. The stat line is not bad, Eric.
It's
We,
not.
we, we, we tend to get on Kyle, but that's a pretty good stat line overall.
It is until
It's
you
not
look
always as yeah.
until you look at what CJ Stroud had after 9 games last year. Then you're like, oh yeah, that's why it feels
I
this
think
way.
CJ had that at halftime last week. Just let me
It
tell
it yeah.
you.
It feels so different because
It
it has
does.
been so long since we've had a quarterback that has passed for under 3,000 yards. That's why it feels this way.
Well, and he really does have the opportunity to still get over 3,000 yards for the season.
Yeah, he
It's
could.
not a stretch at all.
No, he should be able to
But
get there.
but it's just not. I think the consistency, the accuracy is what we're used to.
Correct.
Travion Henderson, he comes in leading the team in rushing, even despite missing several games this season. 90 rushes, 585 yards, 7 touchdowns. And Eric, this has been a reinvigorated rushing attack with Travion.
Hmm.
Really looked good the last couple of weeks. Travion comes out there and he looks like he's running with fresh legs, and then everybody else is just at another speed right now. Marvin Harrison Jr., of course, leading the team in receptions, 52 catches, 914 yards, 10 touchdowns. Just what can you say about Marvin Harrison? I mean, really, just the best player in college football. Defensively, Tommy Two Thumbs leads the way with tackles, 73 on the year. Sacks, we got JT Tuimoloau, who been stuck on 4 sacks for a few games now, Eric. But I think that all can change this weekend.
I agree.
Interceptions, guys, come on, help me out here. Somebody get a second interception for the love of God.
We just added a new one. Is all we did.
We have Josh Proctor. Hey, but at least if we are gonna, and we had to add it to both lists, by the way.
Yes, we did. You got it. That's
It had
right.
to be a pick six. Josh Proctor comes in with an interception, as does Denzel Burke, Steel Chambers, Lathan Ransom, and of course Jermaine Matthews and the newly added Jordan Hancock, who both have their pick sixes on the list here. Defensive touchdowns, well, that's Josh Proctor, Tyleek Williams, Jermaine Matthews Jr., and again, Jordan Hancock. Kicking, we got Jaden Fielding coming in 10 of 11 with a long of 41 on the season. So, Eric, that's where we are statistically with these teams.
Yeah, Chris, this is the kind of game this week that you should see that
This is a
stat
stat,
sheet.
yeah. This is a
Yeah,
stat stuff from week right here.
it should be. That's kind of what we're hoping for. So